The moonlight barely pierced the suffocating canopy of the alien jungle. Shadows long and twisted danced across the blood-soaked earth as Pack Lord Koreth Vorok led his elite claws of Vor into the heart of a world that promised unchallenged conquest. For centuries, the Vornash Dominion had been the scourge of the galaxy, apex predators, unstoppable in their relentless pursuit of dominance. They had subjugated weaker species and tamed countless worlds. Tonight, they believed, would be no different. Yet even as Koreth's armored boots sank into the damp soil, a primal disquiet gnawed at him. The air reeked of decay and ancient violence, and the trees arched overhead like skeletal sentinels. His glistening eyes, honed by millennia of warfare, swept the terrain. Nothing stirred. No prey. No challenge. Only an oppressive, suffocating silence. "We move forward," he commanded in a low, resolute growl. His plasma spear, already charged and pulsing with blue-white energy, served as both a symbol of their superiority and the instrument of their intent. The claws moved as a single, lethal organism, their every step measured, every sense primed for the hunt. Then, without warning, a single twig snapped. In that instant, the stillness shattered. A claw warrior, Torkan, a seasoned killer with scars to prove his valor, vanished into the dense underbrush. His death was not heralded by a roar or cry, but by a single, agonized gasp that was swallowed by the jungle. Moments later, a burst of red plasma traced a silent arc through the darkness. Another warrior collapsed, his life extinguished in a flash. Koreth's heart pounded in rising alarm. This was no ordinary prey. The jungle itself seemed to come alive with malevolence, each leaf and vine a potential snare for the unwary. His warriors, confident and fierce on countless worlds, now wore expressions of disbelief and terror. They had entered a domain where nature and something else conspired against them. "Form up! Regroup," he barked, voice echoing among ancient trunks. But his words were lost beneath a cacophony of unseen attacks. From the treetops and tangled undergrowth emerged shadowy forms, swift, merciless, and unfamiliar. One by one, the mighty Vor were overwhelmed by forces they had never anticipated, creatures with scales that shimmered like liquid midnight, eyes that glowed with a predatory light, and claws that raked the air with silent, deadly intent. In the midst of this chaos, a hulking figure emerged, a creature not of the jungle, but of another war entirely. A solitary human, clad in dark, angular armor and armed with technology that hummed with lethal precision, strode into view. His presence was an affront to everything the Vor had believed, that they were the ultimate hunters. The silence of that moment was a prelude to the storm of violence about to be unleashed. Koreth roared in defiance, raising his plasma spear high as the first rays of a merciless battle ignited beneath the jungle's ancient boughs. In that moment, pride collided with fear, and the night turned red with the blood of a once unstoppable empire. The jungle transformed into a living nightmare. Every step the surviving Vor took was haunted by the specter of death. The attackers moved like whispers, a fleeting glimpse of a silhouette here, a flash of energy there, and with each encounter, the Dominion's confidence crumbled. The humans, silent and systematic, turned the forest into a hunting ground. Koreth's mind raced as he led his battered warriors through a maze of carnivorous flora and twisting roots. Every fallen comrade, every guttural scream of agony, stoked a fire of desperation. The humans were not the chaotic brutes of law, they were precise, efficient executioners who turned the jungle's natural hazards into weapons. A voice, a taunting, cold murmur, cut through the darkness from somewhere within the thicket. "Where are you, coward?" it hissed. The sound sent a shudder through Koreth's spine. He spun around, plasma spear at the ready, but the source had already melted into the shadows. Somewhere in the gloom, a claw was felled by a silent strike, his armor splintered and his blood seared the earth. The humans were everywhere. They moved in coordinated silence, their weapons discharging with an almost musical cadence. One warrior, known for his unyielding ferocity in battle, was caught in a flash of brilliant light. A human sniper from above, positioned high in the canopy, dispatched him without even a cry. In the ensuing moments, chaos reigned, plasma bolts crisscrossed the darkness, the jungle's natural sounds drowned beneath the relentless assault. Regroup! Koreth bellowed as he darted between giant, gnarled roots. But his call was futile. His once proud pack splintered and scattered as the realization sank in: they were no longer the apex predators here. Their every instinct, honed by conquest and the brutal law of survival, betrayed them in the face of this unseen terror. Then came the turning point. A deep, resonant boom shook the jungle. The earth convulsed beneath their feet as a massive figure emerged from behind a curtain of vines. This human, towering, imperious, and encased in heavily fortified armor, strode forward as though the very jungle bent to his will. With each deliberate step, he exuded a chilling certainty that their end was near. Koreth's vision blurred with rage and despair as he witnessed his comrades fall like leaves in a storm. The humans had not only infiltrated their battlefield, they had transformed it into a death trap. Every vine, every shadow, had become an instrument of their undoing. In that savage, heart-pounding moment, Koreth understood the terrible truth: the hunters had become the hunted, and his legacy, the legacy of the Vornash Dominion, was crumbling beneath the cold precision of a new kind of predator. Drenched in sweat and blood, Koreth staggered away from the crumbling clearing. The remnants of his once mighty claws lay scattered, broken bodies and shattered armor a grim testament to the battle. The relentless assault of the human warriors had left him reeling, his mind awash with shock and unadulterated terror. He forced himself upward, every movement a searing agony, as he tried to gather the shattered pieces of his resolve. The jungle around him was alive with the sounds of death, the hissing of unseen creatures, the metallic tang of energy weapons, and the ragged gasps of those still fighting for survival. Somewhere in the distance, the cold, measured voice of a human echoed, "You'll make a fine specimen." It was then that Koreth was seized by a force that seemed to drag him deeper into the underbrush. Limbs tangled in the creeping vines, he was pulled down, his vision filled with the chaotic swirl of green and red, the latter a sickening stain of his own blood. Every thought screamed for him to fight back, but his battered body barely obeyed his commands. As he struggled in vain, the human who had spoken earlier appeared before him, his helmet's visor reflecting Koreth's distorted, pained image. The human crouched, his tone disturbingly calm. "If you had killed me, you wouldn't be here," he murmured, almost conversationally, as if recounting a mundane truth rather than delivering a death sentence. In that final moment, as consciousness slipped away, Koreth's mind replayed the countless victories of his people, the days when they reigned supreme. Now, his life, so full of pride and arrogance, ended in humiliation. The jungle swallowed his last breath, and with it, the mighty roar of the Vor was silenced. The echo of their legacy faded beneath the rise of a force that had forever upended the natural order. Far from the dying screams of the Vor, on a remote outpost orbiting the hostile world, the Terran Special Forces prepared for their next operation. Their mission had been cloaked in mystery, a reconnaissance assignment to investigate inexplicable energy readings emanating from the Deathworld's League. But as the dropships descended through tumultuous clouds, the Terrans knew they were about to witness something extraordinary. Lieutenant Mara Reyes, a battle-hardened veteran with steely eyes and an unwavering resolve, led her squad in silent formation. Their advanced armor, designed for stealth and lethal precision, melded perfectly with the darkness of the alien jungle. Each step was measured, every sensor tuned to detect even the slightest anomaly. Unlike the Vor, brash and overconfident, the Terrans were the embodiment of calculated efficiency. As the dropships touched down, Reyes's unit fanned out, moving like shadows among the towering, twisted trees. The dense canopy above swallowed their movements, and soon, they were immersed in a world of eerie silence punctuated by the occasional distant roar. The Terrans were not here to rescue survivors or engage in endless battles, they were here to secure a strategic advantage and neutralize any threat that stood in their way. In the command center of their forward operating base, a holographic map pulsed with data. Blips of unusual energy signatures blinked erratically across the screen. Multiple hostile engagements confirmed, intoned a voice over the comlink, a technician monitoring the data from afar. The enemy appears to be an alien species of high aggression. Their losses are significant. Reyes's jaw set in determination. Proceed with caution. We engage only if absolutely necessary. Our objective is to observe and secure any intelligence on this new threat. But as her team advanced deeper into the jungle, the situation escalated. The Terrans soon encountered signs of carnage, smoldering wreckage of advanced dropships, shattered weapons fused with the organic decay of the forest, and the unmistakable blood of an enemy that had once ruled these lands with arrogant certainty. A distant sound, a roar, a cry, signaled the commencement of combat. The Terrans sprang into action. In a blur of motion, plasma rifles discharged with surgical precision. The first Vor body fell, collapsing silently beneath a relentless hail of Terran rounds. Reyes's eyes narrowed beneath her helmet as she assessed the unfolding carnage. Every shot, every movement, was executed with the cold detachment of a predator who knew no fear. The Terran presence was methodical and unyielding. With every fallen Vor, they gathered intelligence, mapping the chaotic battlefield with data that would later serve as a warning to any who dared defy them. Reyes's squad advanced with relentless purpose, determined to unravel the mystery behind the Vor's sudden downfall and the jungle's transformation into a killing field. Yet, even as the Terrans secured their position, a lingering question haunted them: who, or what, had orchestrated the downfall of a species that had long been considered invincible? The answer lay hidden in the shadows of the Deathworld, waiting to be unearthed. The jungle, once the domain of the mighty Vor, now belonged to the Terrans. In the aftermath of the initial engagement, the battlefield transformed into a theater of precise, calculated brutality. The remnants of the Vor scattered like leaves in a storm, and every step the Terrans took was a measured act of dominance. Lieutenant Reyes led her unit with unerring focus as they swept through the dense foliage. They encountered pockets of resistance, small bands of surviving Vor warriors, their once terrifying roars now reduced to desperate, futile cries. In every encounter, the Terrans demonstrated a proficiency that bordered on the preternatural. Their weapons, engineered for maximum lethality, discharged bursts that seemed to erase entire squads in a matter of seconds. In one particularly brutal skirmish near a cratered clearing, a group of Vor attempted to rally around a fallen comrade. Their defiant cries were cut short as Reyes herself stepped into view. With a fluid, almost balletic motion, she advanced. The light from her plasma rifle bathed her in a ghostly glow as she dispatched the assembled Vor with a single, well-aimed shot that sent them sprawling into oblivion. The Terran strategy was not merely to kill, but to instill terror. Every engagement was recorded, every tactic honed to perfection. Their mission, however, was deeper than simple annihilation. Hidden within the scattered wreckage, Reyes discovered encrypted data caches, fragments of the Vor's command structure, battle logs, and tactical analyses. It became clear that the downfall of the Vor was not solely the work of the Deathworld itself, but also of a force that had long been studying them, patiently waiting for the right moment to strike. As the Terrans continued their rampage through the jungle, they encountered a lone Vor, severely wounded, yet defiant. In a desperate attempt to cling to his dying honor, the creature roared, summoning a final, frantic charge. But the Terrans were unfazed. Reyes raised her weapon, her voice steady over the comms: "No mercy." With a single, swift motion, the wounded Vor was silenced, his legacy reduced to another data point in the Terrans' growing dossier. The jungle echoed with the sound of calculated violence, a symphony of death composed by soldiers who had mastered the art of silent retribution. And as the Terrans pressed deeper into enemy territory, they could sense the looming climax, a convergence of fate where the downfall of an empire would pave the way for a new order, one where fear and precision reigned supreme. Beyond the front lines, the jungle was a place of nightmares made manifest. The once proud dominion of the Vor now lay in ruins, its twisted architecture and advanced technology shattered and consumed by the wild. Amid this chaos, a deeper horror began to emerge, a reckoning that transcended even the raw brutality of battle. In the heart of the devastated territory, the Terrans discovered a cavern system that pulsed with a strange, bioluminescent light. It was here, amidst winding tunnels and echoing corridors, that the remnants of the Vor leadership had taken refuge. What they found inside would haunt them forever, a vast chamber lined with ancient carvings depicting the Vor in moments of triumph, now defaced by the scars of defeat. The air was thick with despair. In the center of the chamber lay a shattered command console, a relic from a bygone era of domination. Data logs, half-burnt and cryptic, hinted at a secret plan devised by the Vor High Command. It spoke of a weapon, a final trump card that could have reversed their fortunes, a device known only as the Nemesis Protocol. As Reyes's technicians worked feverishly to decode the encrypted files, a sense of impending dread settled over the Terran unit. The protocol's purpose was clear: to unleash a cataclysmic force that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. But the data was incomplete, fragmented by the chaos of battle and the ravages of time. Each decoded byte hinted at horrors beyond imagining, of worlds obliterated, civilizations reduced to ash, and the very fabric of reality torn asunder. Meanwhile, outside the cavern, the jungle itself roiled with a fury born of ancient grudges. The Terran's presence had awakened something deep and vengeful, a primordial force intertwined with the ecosystem. Rumors spread among the soldiers, tales of spectral apparitions, of voices in the dark whispering secrets of doom. At night, as they huddled in makeshift bivouacs, even the most stoic began to wonder if the true enemy was not the Vor alone, but the planet itself. In the midst of this chaos, Reyes stood resolute. She knew that to secure the future, she had to unravel the mystery of the Nemesis Protocol. It was no longer just a matter of extermination, it was a race against time to prevent a weapon of unimaginable power from falling into the wrong hands. And if the Vor had been taught one final lesson, it was that pride, when unchecked, could lead to oblivion. Time blurred into a relentless succession of firefights, desperate retreats, and moments of stark, unyielding terror. The Terrans pressed on, driven by a singular mission, to collect every fragment of intelligence, every remnant of the Vor's defiant legacy. Each recovered data cache, each charred relic of Vor technology, added another piece to the puzzle of the Nemesis Protocol. Deep in the jungle's labyrinthine depths, Lieutenant Reyes led a reconnaissance team into a ruined city, a sprawling complex of once proud spires now overtaken by nature. Here, amidst the crumbling structures, they encountered the last organized resistance of the Vor. A motley band of survivors had barricaded themselves in a derelict command center, their eyes burning with a mix of hatred and hopeless defiance. A brutal skirmish erupted in the shadowed corridors. The air vibrated with the clash of plasma and the guttural roars of desperate warriors. Reyes found herself face to face with a Vor captain, a creature whose eyes flickered with both fury and sorrow. Their brief, charged exchange spoke volumes, a final, silent acknowledgement of inevitable defeat. With a swift, precise motion, the captain was taken down, his last words a whisper of regret that faded into the chaos. In the aftermath, as the Terrans secured the area and salvaged what they could, Reyes took a moment to record a personal log. The weight of the day pressed upon her, the realization that the downfall of an empire was not a singular event, but an echoing tragedy that resonated across time and space. The data they recovered was more than tactical intelligence, it was a chronicle of hubris, a testament to the cost of unchecked ambition. That night, as a torrential downpour battered the ruined city, Reyes sat alone, the flicker of her datapad illuminating her tired face. She pondered the nature of power, of conquest, and of the terrible price paid by those who dared to defy destiny. The fallen Vor had become more than enemies, they were a stark reminder that even the mightiest could fall, and that in the end, pride was the true executioner. The days that followed saw the Terrans tighten their grip on the hostile territory. Every skirmish, every firefight, honed their resolve. Yet, even as they advanced, a palpable tension lingered in the humid air, a silent dread that the final, decisive confrontation was drawing near. Deep within a dense section of the jungle, the Terrans discovered an underground facility hidden beneath the tangled roots of ancient trees. This was the nerve center of the Vor's last desperate bid for survival, a fortress designed to house the Nemesis Protocol. The facility was a labyrinth of corridors, sealed vaults, and control rooms, all bearing the scars of a prolonged, bitter struggle. As Reyes led her team into the facility, the atmosphere shifted from the chaotic violence of open combat to a cold, calculated stillness. Every step echoed in the dimly lit halls, and every shadow whispered secrets of long-forgotten battles. The Terrans split into squads, sweeping each area with unwavering vigilance. It wasn't long before they encountered the final line of defense, a battalion of Vor warriors, gaunt and broken yet burning with a fierce determination. These last defenders had been given a singular purpose: to activate the Nemesis protocol, even if it meant their own annihilation. Their eyes, though clouded with exhaustion, shone with the desperate hope that in their death, they might salvage some shred of honor. A brutal melee ensued in the cramped corridors. Plasma bolts and energy blades clashed in a symphony of destruction. Reyes, at the forefront, moved like a force of nature, her every action a blend of ruthless efficiency and grim determination. The battle was fierce and unrelenting, every moment a fight for survival, every breath a defiance of death. In the midst of the chaos, Reyes reached the central vault. There, embedded in a crystalline console pulsating with eerie light, was the core of the Nemesis protocol. As her technicians worked to extract its data, the facility trembled with the sound of distant explosions and the approaching footsteps of enemy reinforcements. The final confrontation was imminent. Outside, the remaining Vor warriors, their ranks decimated, made one last, desperate stand. The ground shook as the facility's external defenses collapsed, and the roar of Terran firepower began to overwhelm the last vestiges of Vor resistance. In that defining moment, as the Terrans secured the Nemesis core and the enemy's cries faded into silence, Reyes realized that the battle was over, but the war for the future had only just begun. With the Nemesis protocol secured, the Terrans retreated to their forward operating base. The data they extracted painted a grim picture, a last-ditch effort by the Vor to harness a weapon of unimaginable power, one that could have undone the very fabric of the cosmos. The implications were staggering, and the weight of this knowledge pressed heavily on every soldier and commander. In a high-security briefing room, illuminated by holographic displays of encrypted schematics and lost histories, Reyes convened with her commanding officers and intelligence analysts. The room was silent as the data unfolded, a chronicle of arrogance, desperation, and calculated self-destruction. The Vor had intended the Nemesis protocol not as a tool of conquest, but as a scorched earth gambit, a means to obliterate everything in their path rather than submit to defeat. As the details emerged, debates erupted among the Terran strategists. Some argued that the protocol must be destroyed at all costs, fearing that its latent power could one day be harnessed by a rogue faction. Others contended that understanding its mechanisms was the key to ensuring that no other species would ever dare challenge Terran dominance. Reyes listened to the impassioned arguments with a measured calm. She knew that every decision made in that room would echo throughout the galaxy. The Terrans had risen as silent, relentless hunters, and with the knowledge of the Nemesis protocol in their hands, they now held the power to reshape the balance of power forever. Outside, the jungle was a ruined memory, its once thriving ecosystem reduced to smoldering remnants. The battle for survival had been won, but at a terrible cost. The fallen Vor, their legacy written in blood and shattered dreams, had served as a stark warning: pride and hubris could topple even the mightiest. In that tense moment of reckoning, as the Terrans prepared for the uncertain future, Reyes vowed that the horrors of the past would never be repeated. The legacy of the Vor would be studied, analyzed, and, if necessary, exploited. But above all, the Terrans would ensure that no enemy, no matter how fearsome, would ever rise unchecked again. The final light of the alien sun bled over the horizon as the Terrans began the arduous task of rebuilding and redefining their destiny. The Deathworld, scarred by conflict and loss, stood as a testament to the cruelty of nature and the destructive potential of unchecked ambition. Yet from its ruins, a new order was poised to emerge. Reyes stood on the ramparts of a newly established forward base, gazing out at a landscape transformed by fire and blood. In her hands, she clutched the Nemesis core, a symbol of both horror and potential. The data contained within promised both a weapon and a cautionary tale, that power, when wielded without restraint, could devastate worlds. Her voice, firm and resolute, echoed through the assembled ranks of Terran soldiers. Today, we honor those who fell and we learn from the mistakes of our enemies. The Vor believed themselves invincible, but their arrogance paved the way for our ascendants. We have taken their legacy, studied it, and now we will ensure that our future is built on wisdom, precision, and unwavering resolve. The Terrans dispersed into the ruins, engineers and scientists working tirelessly to secure the Nemesis technology, while combat units scouted for any remaining pockets of resistance. The jungle, once a place of terror, now lay subdued under the weight of order and determination. The specter of the Vor faded into history, replaced by the cold, unyielding drive of a new era. As night fell, Reyes returned to her command center. The holographic displays flickered with data streams, a mosaic of triumph, loss, and the promise of tomorrow. In that quiet moment, she allowed herself a brief reflection. The battles fought, the lives lost, and the immeasurable cost of victory would forever mark this day. Yet she also saw the spark of hope in the eyes of her soldiers, a hope born from the certainty that no enemy, no matter how formidable, could challenge the Terran spirit again. The future, though uncertain, was theirs to shape. And as the Terran forces prepared to embark on their next mission, to secure peace in a galaxy scarred by conflict, a single, unwavering truth emerged: in the end, the only force capable of reshaping destiny was the relentless will to survive. Somewhere in the far reaches of space, a lone transmission drifted through the void, a final log recorded by the dying remnants of the Vornash Dominion. In halting, desperate tones, Paklord Koretha's final words served as a grim warning to all who would dare follow in their footsteps. "Remember us," his voice echoed, fragile and broken, "for we were the apex, and yet we fell. Let our downfall be a lesson, that no matter how mighty you are, the true hunters may come from where you least expect them." The transmission, fragmented yet potent, was intercepted by Terran intelligence. It became both a relic and a roadmap, a grim reminder of the price of arrogance and a guide for a future where the balance of power would be meticulously guarded. As the Terrans advanced into the cosmos, armed with knowledge, resolve, and the terrifying potential of the Nemesis protocol, they carried with them the echoes of a fallen empire. And in every star system, in every whispered legend of old, one truth remained immutable.